So I've made plenty of videos on the regular iPhone 15 and I've made my point clear by now that you should buy this over the Pros in my opinion, but some of you might be wondering which should I buy between the regular iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Plus. Well, let's talk about that. So beginning with the size, this really comes down to personal preferences because guess what guys? Bigger isn't always better. I know not everyone can try these phones out in person first, but it would be really beneficial for you to do that because both these sizes have their pros and cons. For example, as soon as I picked up the regular 15, this size just felt so right. I've had 6.1 inch phones in the past, but the slightly curvier corners when caseless makes a big difference. It's much easier to use this one-handed, and basically this size is the one that makes most sense to 90% of consumers. There's a reason it's deemed the regular size. And by the way, would like to remind you guys, like this video and subscribe for more content like this, it would be appreciated. Also, for those coming from much older iPhones with their thick bezels, this feels pretty much as compact as those older phones, whilst giving you much more real estate. However, I am aware people love to watch movies and play games on their phones, so that's where the plus size could make a big difference. I cannot deny with the fact the additional real estate is nice to have, and unlike Pro Max devices I've used in the past, the Plus is actually lightweight, so it's not a gym workout trying to hold this phone for hours on end like my 14 Pro Max. Now I know the 15 Plus has reduced the weight substantially with its new fancy titanium chassis, but fun fact, the 15 Plus is still lighter with its aluminium builds. So if you care about having the lightest big-sized iPhone, go with the Plus over the Pro Max. I will say, however, that Apple doesn't really take advantage of the bigger displays. You have many similar-sized Android devices on the market, offering a plethora of multitasking features, like split screen for example, but whatever you can do on a 6.1-inch iPhone is also what you can do on a 6.7-inch iPhone. There used to be an exclusive landscape mode on large iPhones, but that's also now gone. So yes, iOS really does nothing with the additional real estate. And another thing that's better on Android when it comes to larger displays is one-handed modes. I'm aware reachability is a thing, but I would say it's not as accessible as what Android phones offer right now. They minimize the UI to either the bottom left or right side of the device, and that's very clutch. So basically what I'm saying here is that Android has better optimization for larger displays compared to iOS, so if you're unsure about which size to get, I would point you towards the regular iPhone 15, but if you're absolutely sure you want a monstrous iPhone for watching content on, then yes, go with the Plus. There will be a compromise in terms of one-handed use, but of course it does offer one of the largest panels for content consumption. Apart from that though, they're visually the same, and that's to say guys, these are gorgeous devices. For many years we've wanted the aluminium regular iPhone to have a matte finish, and now that we have it on the back, especially in this matte black, these are very classy devices. I am absolutely in love with the design, and dare I say this looks better than even the Pros because unlike titanium, the aluminium does not pick up fingerprints, so it's a truly matte finish all the way round. Moving on to the actual displays themselves, these are both identical apart from the size, and so now I have to briefly touch on a topic the tech community can't stop talking about, which is the 60Hz debate. I'm sure many in the comments are going to mention, how can you live with a 60Hz iPhone in 2023 bro? It's a scam. But I didn't really care in terms of day-to-day usage. Yes, side by side with my 14 Pro there is a difference, but no one really uses a 60Hz and 120Hz iPhone together like this, and so when I put my 14 Pro away and solely just use the 15, I really didn't care about the 60Hz panel on this and just went along with my day. The same goes for the always on display. I turned this off for my 14 Pro Max because it was using up so much battery life, and so again, not having this on the 15 is something I can look past. If anything, Apple retained the one and only thing I care about, which is the excellent brightness. Both these phones have 1000 nits of brightness for typical use, 1600 nits for HDR content, and a whopping 2000 nits of brightness outdoors, which is the exact same as the 14 and 15 Pros. The outdoor brightness especially is a game changer guys. It finally makes these phones viewable in sunlight, and I also didn't pick up on the phone overheating as such when it's pumping out 2000 nits of brightness right into my eyes, so this very much is a nice upgrade. The island is also slowly becoming more useful within iOS, and is more importantly a nice visual refresh, so I'm glad it's now here on the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus. Coming back to differences, another big thing to note is the battery life on these two phones, and I think this will be a big reason many are going to be swayed towards the Plus because, long story short, this is the battery champ, guys. Apple on their site actually claims the Pro phones have much longer endurance in terms of video playback, but honestly guys, when it comes to regular usage, the base phones destroy the Pros. I've been mainly testing the regular iPhone 15 and I've been getting 7 to 8 hours of screen on time, which is absolutely insane for such a small device. However, the Plus, being a massive phone that has a larger battery and a 60Hz panel, gets 10 hours of screen on time, which is bonkers for a smartphone. If you're a power user, this is the phone to get, and extensive testing from Mr. Who's a Boss and Tom's Guide has proved this offers the best battery life ever on any iPhone, which is very, very impressive. As incredible as the iPhone 15 Plus is, the regular iPhone 15's battery life is likely just fine for most consumers. I had no issues getting through the day with this, and so don't be swayed towards the Plus just for the incredible endurance because, like I said earlier guys, it is a much larger device physically and not everyone's gonna like that. But if you prioritize battery life over everything because you're the ultimate power user, the Plus is the way to go. Moving on to cameras, a great thing with the regular devices compared to their Pro counterparts is that there's no differences with the cameras on the 15 and 15 Plus, so you're getting the exact same experience across the boards, and that is to say they're great. I think the only con I will mention is the ultra-wide here is the exact same lens as the one we originally got on the iPhone 11, a phone that came out 4 bloody years ago. So this means this sensor is softer than the ultra-wide on the Pro phones. You also get no macro, which is a bummer, I can't lie. However, apart from that guys, there's nothing else to complain about. Beginning with the main lens, it's 48 megapixels. Yes, the shots have been down to 24 megapixels by default, but either way you do pick up on the additional detail with the shots on the 15 compared to older iPhones. There's also more polish here with the iPhone 15's camera compared to my 14 Pro because Smart HDR5 makes a big difference since for the last 2 years, we've all been complaining that Smart HDR4 on the 13 and 14 produced overprocessed photos that would sometimes look like hot garbage, and so as soon as you use the 15s, you will notice skin tones and colors in general look a lot more realistic and lifelike. Also something I've quickly come to appreciate are next-gen portraits. Now the portrait mode itself isn't radically different, it does produce similar shots, but the new thing here is that the 15 automatically collects the data the phone needs for portraits, and so you can now turn most photos into portrait in post, and that is super clutch. You likely also won't miss not having a telephoto because the 2x crop on the 15 and 15 Plus makes a huge difference. Now Apple does kind of falsely advertise this as a 2x telephoto. I see what you're doing, Timothy, that's a little cheeky, but at the same time this actually is as good as a dedicated telephoto, and so I'm happy with this. I don't need more zoom than what this offers. The 5x on the 15 Pro Max is very cool, don't get me wrong guys, but there's no need to pay $400 more just to get that. And the cherry on top has to be video and how it comes out excellently on the 15s without me even trying, and that's great news for a creator like myself. Selfies also look great on these phones, and overall I enjoyed using the cameras on these base iPhones. And on top of all of this, you also get USB-C on the 15 and 15 Plus, which I personally don't care about, but I know people are going to buy these phones just for that new port. There's also A16 and 6 gigs of RAM, which means these phones are plenty fast. I've had no performance issues. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth and 5G have all been solid on both these devices. And another small difference I do want to mention is that naturally with a larger device, the speakers get louder, but the regular phone is still plenty fine. Now the final difference is of course the price. You're going to have to pay $100 more for the 15 Plus, and while that does put this phone in a bit of a sticky situation, you see, considering last year's 14 Plus did not really sell in massive numbers, I was assuming Apple would maybe consider small price cuts to create more differentiation in pricing for the base models, but no, they did not do that. I guess I shouldn't have expected Apple of all companies to give us a price cut, but because the base Pro stayed at $999, I have a feeling many consumers are going to be walking into an Apple store and they see the range and they decide, hey, the 15 Plus is $899, I might as well pay $100 more and get the fancy Pro with titanium because it looks cool. This, however, doesn't apply to the regular 15 because there's a $200 price difference, which is a large enough price increase where people likely are going to stick to the base model. And so like I've been suggesting throughout this video, guys, as great as the 15 Plus is for those who want the big display or the insane endurance, the 15 is really the one most should be getting. I think it's much more likely most prefer the smaller size. It has no compromises performance and camera wise because it's the smaller device, and battery life is also still excellent. However, like I said earlier, guys, if you go into an Apple store and try these phones out in person, and you fall in love with the larger 6.7-inch size because you believe bigger is better, then yes, by all means, go with the 15 Plus. It is $300 cheaper than the Pro Max at the end of the day, and with the added bonus of the insane endurance, that's even better than the 15 Pro Max. I can see why one would buy this, and so if you're absolutely sure you want the bigger size, definitely buy that. Anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comments, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and thank you for watching.